Hey there, everyone. Michael Damon here with the latest episode of Starbeam.one, Stand Up and Shine and Shill. This is a series that I put together to keep people up to date with my project, Starbeam.one. The show is modeled after the agile methodology of a stand-up where you tell your teammates what you're working on, what you're going to be working on, and any sort of friction points that you are encountering. And I've added so much more. Let's begin. All right, now with the difficult part of the show out of the way, we can get to the program notes. And the program notes is kind of where I have the big ticket items or news items at the top of the show. And to start out with, a reminder, this is a 5-week month, and so you will not hear from me for 3 weeks here as I work or take a vacation, one of those two. We'll see. But it is really slow now, kind of a reason why I think that way of taking a vacation here a little bit, because there's really not a lot of activity. And things are slow all around, not just with Starbeam.one, but if you look at the NFT marketplaces and just in general, it's just really slow. All the profiles I've been keeping track of, not a lot of sales. And we're also feeling that as well. And so, it kind of gets me thinking about a few different things. And we're going to talk about this a little bit now and going forward. We are in beta. We're in beta 1 now. And after I announced that, of course, I'm starting to think, well, one of the things I wanted to do with Starbeam.one when I first started was subscriptions, basically kind of a subscription-based model. And we kind of went away from that. And I'm wanting to return to that. And I think that is something, the more I think about, the more I kind of regret moving away from it. But the more I think about it, the more of a differentiator it makes us from NFTs. Because with subscriptions, you can't do it with an NFT. With a cryptocurrency wallet, you need to have the approval of the owner of the wallet in order to commit any transactions, right? And so you can't do this with NFTs. So that's immediately a differentiator, right? That differentiates us from NFTs. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking about a little bit. That is sort of one of the things I've been thinking of, is that we are kind of an NFT marketplace, and that wasn't really what I wanted to build, right? It's kind of cool that we did build it, that we ended up making this, but and it's a huge accomplishment for me, but it really gets away from what I wanted to do, which is a publishing starship, right? And so with subscriptions, you're able to do that. And the whole idea is to get subscribers to your art, and it's at a lower cost, at a lower price. And that's what AI, you look at AI, the price points and the model of the AI, you can produce it very quickly. That sort of kind of lends itself to that, right? And it's also getting back to that daily art. So you have these streams that you have, different topics maybe, and you produce them one per day, and you sell them for like 25 cents, maybe even up as high as 50 cents, depending on your audience base. And that's kind of what you do. You sell them per subscriber at a lower price. And again, getting back to AI, there is a discussion about how much work it takes to generate, but these generations occur within a minute typically. And so you kind of think about that. The typical consumer will look at that and say, well, you really didn't spend a lot of time on it, even though you do spend a lot of time on it, typically getting it just right, sort of thing. But still, typical person will look at that and say, yeah, I think 25 cents sounds about right. And they will subscribe to you for that. So that's kind of what we're trying to get into. Like, you don't see this with NFTs that much, right? And so you can't do it with NFTs, and NFTs don't have this sort of thing, right? And so we want to combine that NFT quality of being able to resell and getting royalties out of that resale with a subscription. And I think that's something that's unique, right? And that's kind of what I'm pivoting to. Again, it's just like getting back to the roots, right? Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of work. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. There's a lot of stress with getting that work together and getting ready for that. So we'll see. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to get that out as sort of the thoughts that I had in my head. And now it's out there for you to enjoy as well. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. Okay, I said that the intro was a difficult part, but this is actually going to be a difficult part when we are slow. We're going to go talk through some stats, and we are going to brave through this. I was almost tempted to not do this, to kind of skip this section, but we're going to try to brave through it anyways. There's still a lot of things to be happy about. We're almost up to 300 users, and we're still over 100 artists, and people do use our system. And also the kind of the telling thing that I'd like to point out is that we have a lot of NFT artists that try us out. And it kind of goes back to that whole notion that I wanted to validate, and that is that you don't need a blockchain to sell your art, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to prove, but it's also kind of, that is being proved here, right? Like, it's just, you don't need a blockchain to sell your art. And in fact, it kind of complicates it and makes it more complicated than it needs to be. And you're seeing that with the people that try us out. We're very grateful, by the way, to all the NFT artists that do try us out. It's been awesome. You know, it's also kind of frustrating for me because we're not making a lot of sales, but you know, we're going with what we have, and you know, hopefully it does improve, and hopefully we can pivot. But anyways, you know, getting back to that differentiating factor, we need that cool factor. And if we can offer a way to have lower prices on a daily basis, and the other thing too is that it's daily engagement, right? So artists are visiting the site every day, producing art, and then collectors are also visiting when they produce that art, and they're collecting it, they're subscribing to it, so they're going to get notifications. So there's a lot of value there, I think, and the more I think about it, the more I kind of want to get back to that. Okay, more insight aside, we're going to try to dive through here, and you know, the 7-day resale, or excuse me, the 7-day sales volume is low, about a third of what it usually is, and so yeah, it's just low all around. We are approaching 8,500, so that might be a Shill tweet here up, and you know, I haven't really been on Twitter all that much either, but you know, the average sale amount continues to climb, and with our visitors, you know, it's really surprising here that we have still at 9,000, so that's kind of holding pat there, so that's kind of cool. Active users, that's not very high at all. I think it was 80 it was at, I guess that's not too much of a drop, but yeah, you know, it could be better, and we are getting some user accounts still, so even, you know, okay, so our user accounts are kind of up there, about 1 per day, so that's kind of a good indicator here. And I'm just going to scroll down here to, you know, licenses generated about 17. We're usually about 25 to even up to 50 per day sort of thing. So that's kind of down. And yeah, our this is about the same, our inventory as last time. And here's a breakdown of our markets. But I just kind of want to get back to our withdrawals here. And I think we're approaching $4,000 of withdrawals that we've paid out to artists with or just people in general using PayPal payouts and Coinbase, and up to almost 52 people there, so over 200 withdrawals. So that is an important metric. Okay, next slide. Oof, I'm glad that's over. That was really difficult, and I know I've got 2 more of those at least before I have the subscriptions in place to make me feel better. So, you know, again, there's only one of me, and there's a lot of development to be done, and you know, priority. So it's sort of really stressful for me to kind of grind it out, but we're going to make do with it as much as we can, or as much as I can, because I'm the one that's enduring it. Okay, so what did I do? There's a lot of lists of items here, and it actually looks more impressive than it actually is. Finished out the announcement bot, so that's done. But another thing that happened is I met with the Azure team, and we discussed pricing, and I've been kind of incorporating that, and of course, none of it works. So I've had to open up like 3 or 4 different support tickets to Azure, and they take forever. They take forever to reply, and they're always the first and even second replies aren't very helpful, and I have to explain further what I'm looking for. And then finally, like the 3rd or 4th reply, they start being helpful and valuable. They finally figure it out. So it's just been kind of a drag, a slog with Azure. So I've been getting that together with basically looking for ways to save money. And it looks like we're going to be dropping, if worse comes to worse, we can drop our hosting costs from $12.50 to about $750 a month, maybe even more than that. And so the other thing too is that I can't find key metrics out of Azure because I'm on the Microsoft for Startups, which I'm not complaining because I'm not paying anything, but still it would be kind of nice to have these metrics. So I've had some discussions with them, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. All right, so there's that, and just some general system improvements that I've worked on. And one thing I did implement is what's known as distributed locking, and this allows us to lock processing for multiple instances of our application in case we need to scale out and increase the number of instances that are running our application. So I'm starting to think this way after talking with Azure, and one of the things we need to do is be able to lock processes such as our indexer. So whenever we generate a license, that license has a number, but it also has indexes based on that number. So based on the market that it's in, or that the artist that is producing it, and other type of metrics like that. And so what we need to do is we need to lock any other processes that might be running and wanting to count as well, and wait for that counting to be done, and then release that lock, and then the next process can be doing that. That's if we start getting, or when we start getting, a tremendous amount of processes to index our licenses when that occurs. So anyways, I got that in place. That was actually pretty easy because it was already out there as a package to install and incorporate. And then finally, there were some wanted list improvements I wanted to make with the performance, but also with some features, because I've noticed that there were some issuances that were being recalled, and I had them wanted, and they were in my wanted list still, but they were recalled, and so it's kind of a bug, right? So now we allow, we no longer display recalled issuances in your wanted list, and we have another list that shows all of your wanted list, and you can unwant them there. So kind of some improvements there to help manage your wanted list. All right, so what am I doing? A question I ask myself all the time, and this is that list that's up there now. It seems like the same list that has been up there since the beginning of time, or at least 6 weeks now. And so, it's been there for a while, and I'm hoping these next 3 weeks are the magic weeks when I finally get these done. And so we are looking at having notification improvements, getting those filtered, and having a better experience around that. And then also making it so that we're enforcing emails. So when you create an account, an email will be required. And that's also going to be useful for support and for security, especially for that last point here for locked out authentication. In case you get locked out of your account, we'll be able to send a code to your email address and then get you signed back in and authenticated with another provider, sort of thing. And then after that, if I'm lucky enough to get all those done, there are other things such as, we've got entity framework. We've got, having our improvements around that, where it's kind of difficult to articulate. It's really technical, but basically making it easier to migrate data. And the other thing too is I want to make it so that it's easier to see when someone produces content, having access as an administrator to see what they produced. Because right now you can see, like their preview image on their storefront, but I have no access to the actual content. I do, but it's really difficult to get into there. And so this makes it easier to do that. And then finally, getting, what's on the docket here is getting a reporting system in place. So in case someone does produce something that might have copyrighted content, or, maybe risque content that might be better suited for a mature market sort of thing, people can report that, and we can have a process in place to get that removed from the market and notify the artists. And then finally, I really want to get to these subscriptions, and that's kind of like the main event here. So that's really what's on the docket. I guess we can move on to the next slide now. Friction points. Yes, indeed, there are not a lot right now. Hide the Pain Herald there is not all that busy these days, which I'm grateful for. But, Microsoft does have these Razor tooling build times. It's like a 1 or 2 out of 10 for me. I'm not really all that concerned. It is kind of a hassle, but I'm just not feeling that need to start nagging our good friends there at Microsoft. They're really, I have had some discussions on other threads, and they're really responsive, and they're really a lot of work right now. So they're at a lot of work right now, or they're doing a lot of work right now with coding and refactoring for .NET 8 and 9, I've been told. So I don't really want to bother them just yet with these other issues, but for the most part, everything's looking good. All right, moving right along here. So effectiveness level with our morale, of course, things are slow, so that's going to take a little bit of a hit. I think it was 8.5 last time for the last show, and it's kind of a battle, right? Because we're not really trying, right? We're not really putting all our effort into marketing. We're just kind of hamstrung, for lack of a better word, by our development. We need to have some features in place, and there's also this kind of like this thing now where I want to have a cool differentiating feature that clearly differentiates us from NFTs, right? And that's subscriptions, and that it's a really powerful feature too. So now I'm kind of like in this place where it's like, okay, how can I get this done as quickly as possible and have it out and available? Because I think it's going to be a very impactful and valuable feature. And so right now it's sort of still, not as excited, but not terrible either overall with morale. Schedule, yeah, you know, it's all right. I'd feel better if I get those subscriptions done, sort of thing. Technology actually is doing pretty good here. You know, the build times right now are really the only thing that's just irritating me. But everything else, for the most part, doing pretty good. Marketing, let's see. Yeah, I think I had this at a 7 last time. I'm just not spending a lot of time on Twitter, so I don't really feel a lot effective, and I don't want to. You know, I'm just kind of, you know, really in a kind of a weird spot right now. There's a lot of development that needs to be done, and yeah, it's like, how do we process that sort of thing, you know? All right, there we go. About 16 minutes, probably about 15 minutes after I get done editing all of this, and I try to keep these short, and I don't. And so there you have it. I guess it's better than 20 or 30 minutes, but just want to thank everyone out there for all of your support, those that are sticking around, and you know, we still have a very committed community, and I'm appreciative for all of you. And, you know, for all your purchases, when you still do purchases, it's greatly appreciated. We are kind of slow, but still, every time a sale happens, it's always awesome because it's an instance when something can go wrong, but did not. And in fact, money and monetary value has been exchanged successfully. So it's such a great event when that does happen, and I can't get enough of that. So anyways, with that said, just want to thank everyone out there. And until next time, stay safe out there and stay bright. Goodbye.